Okay, so again, welcome back. You see our sincere apologies for the technical difficulties initially, but now Auditor General Defoor, State Auditor General Defoor, is saying things with his chest out. No, as always,
Under
but
the advice of a few of your listeners.
But yeah, so so one of the things that we're able to do, we're not on time constraints. As long as the audience is engaged, we are engaged. So this is one of the benefits of having our own. One of the benefits of being 100% owned and controlled by us in terms of the community. Shout out again to the Lewis brothers here at Music Man Multimedia Studios, and of course Chad Scott, the District Bar and Lounge, who are doing a magnificent job at the control table.
Yes. Thank you,
to both of them, Craig and Conrad, as well as Chad Scott. We can't thank you enough for continuing to plow through, delivering an excellent show. So as we were talking about before, your level of commitment with regards to financial literacy, understanding how that is a direct marriage with education, ensuring that we have a more prepared pool and pipeline of young people, not only for the political side of things, if they choose to go that route, but making sure that we can clearly say that we have young people that are prepared, that are ready to enter into various sectors of the workforce, that not only workforce, but as owners, as business owners, entrepreneurs that are ready to enter and be engaged with not only the Commonwealth, but globally with financial literacy at its core. So talk a little bit more about that like we did earlier.
Yeah. So one of the things when I started looking at what's going on in the community, the one thing that kept popping into my mind was socioeconomic. And I shared with you, I'm not sure if I shared with your viewers, the story about me and math. And it's a story that's widely known that, in high school, in school, I was a horrible math student. People are probably wondering, what you were Dauphin County Controller, has to do with math. The Auditor General, that obviously has to do with math because you're just talking about accounting.
Mm-hmm.
But I was a horrible in high school and early parts of college. I was a horrible math student. But I took a finite math course, and part of finite math is you're talking about odds and probability. So the professor taught the class with a deck of cards and dice.
Mm-hmm.
So and he started off by saying, you take out the Joker, you have 52 cards from the deck. What are the odds that you're going to pull out a ace of hearts?
Mm-hmm.
1 in 52.
Right.
Those are the odds. You have a dice or a die. You roll a die. What are the odds that you're going to roll a 6? 1 in 6.
Right.
What that did was that broke down that mathematical barrier, and it taught me a different way of thinking about math. Then so from that, it led me to statistics. Then it led me to economics and accounting. Because as far as algebra and geometry, I still, if you ask me algebra and geometry, I still couldn't answer it. Yeah. But one of the things that I did know, as far as the things that it led me to engaging in math, those are the things that are widely used today by the average person,
right?
Just to run a household,
right?
And so and I also then from there I start researching financial literacy. Because it was a passion of mine, because again the socioeconomical issue.
Right.
So I started researching it, and I saw that all the states surrounding Pennsylvania, we have New York, Ohio, West Virginia, Maryland, Delaware, and New Jersey. All those states have passed legislation where financial literacy is taught from kindergarten through 12th grade.
Right.
That's not the case in Pennsylvania.
So who do you talk to about that? I know it's, you have the ability to audit, whether that's PDE or other entities. How do you see yourself moving forward with bringing those decision makers to the table? Not necessarily this table, although welcome.
Right.
But how do you internally invite them with the overall goal of ensuring that there's a better understanding of how to reach our young people where they are?
And here's what we did. And all this was going on when I was Dauphin County Controller.
Okay.
And so I started the Dauphin County Controller Financial Literacy Initiative with Harrisburg University. And what we did, we brought in educators, we brought in people in the financial services industry from all over the country. We're going to bring them in to talk about financial literacy and the importance of it being taught from kindergarten to 12th grade. And we also brought in individuals who work with different states' departments of education to talk about how they implemented it and how they worked with the teachers and the teachers unions on how it could work. And unfortunately, COVID came and we had to cancel that.
Gotcha.
So one of the things that I plan on doing is starting the Art of the Generalist Financial Literacy Initiative. And I hope to meet with the state treasurer to talk about it, but also partner up again with Harrisburg University to talk about it and to get people to understand how important it is that financial literacy be taught in our schools from kindergarten through 12th grade.
Well, there's another group out there that you might want to invite. Shameless plug, Pennsylvania Diversity Coalition.
Well, and that's always the case.
Yeah,
that's always the case.
Well, I'm just saying, we did receive a call from the Federal Reserve Bank of Philadelphia. We are on that radar, and one of the things that we're talking about is that engagement from an equity standpoint with the banking industry and those institutions. As we noticed over the last year, there's been some trouble with accessing the financial institutions in a balanced way, equitably. I would like to talk about the fact that there are some institutions out there that have been receptive and have been willing partners at the table with the coalition. I say Mid-Penn Bank and Roy Retrieve. When we're talking about Orrstown Bank, definitely with Luke Bernstein, with BB&T now Truist, with Mike Troutman and Ashley Shaneri Ashley. So there's been PNC Bank, Chris Rocky, and others, locally here in the state. So there are banking institutions that are out there that are definitely open to doing business under that financial literacy umbrella, and they would, I'm sure, be willing to come to the table with the state auditor general. So we could be that conduit. And I'm just shameless plug, but I'm doing it.
But you know what? No, and actually, the Pennsylvania Diversity Coalition, that would be one of the organizations that needs to be involved with all this.
Right.
And it's something that it's going to take a coalition,
right,
of like-minded individuals who have the same who want to bring financial literacy in the schools.
Right.
So it's not going to take one or two organizations. It's going to take a coalition of organizations. There's always strength in numbers.
Right.
So because this is something that for the life of me, I still just don't understand. And that's why I get so frustrated. I don't understand why are all the other states surrounding Pennsylvania, why is it being taught, but it's not being taught in PA? And the research has shown that how important something like this is. And I go back to my own experiences and how math was taught in a different way and how I went from being somebody who hated math, was scared of math, to somebody who embraced math because it was taught in a different way.
Right. So, I mean, we're, as we begin to wind down, I can't thank you enough, for joining us here.
My pleasure.
And you always know that there is an open invitation for your return, whether that is here in studio and or virtually. And we just asked, as we talked about again, that when there are certain things that you were announcing, whether that's 1 p.m., in the afternoon, or 9 a.m. in the morning, or 8 p.m. at night, that you consider us, an outlet from which you can ensure that your message is projected, because we are here to serve the community at large, and that at large is the global community, to make sure that we are well kept abreast of things, the happenings. We are definitely in support of all public figures, Republican and or Democrat, that is doing the right thing for the masses, and not just cherry picking the chosen few. So what we'll do is, on the other side is commercial. We'll allow you to have some closing remarks. And again, we can't thank you enough for thinking it not robbery to join us here today for a seat at the table.
Thank you.
Coming at you. Bounce down, disaster. Coming at you. At you. Tell you when it's master. Coming at you. Coming at you. Bounce down, disaster. Coming at you. At you. Tell you when it's master. Coming at you. From heaven, when I saw you, you make me feel like falling for you. Angel from heaven, when I saw you.
You have aspirations to be governor. So these are two things that have been a hot topic, especially running as a black man, as a Republican, under the umbrella of Trump. Talk a little bit about what that was like.
One of the things that I did in the campaign, I wanted to make my campaign unique, and I wanted to talk about myself, talk about my experiences, and why I felt I deserved to be Auditor General, and that resonated throughout the Commonwealth, and I ended up winning, I believe, 59 or 60 counties out of 67 counties, and so I did exceptionally well, better than a lot of people had expected.
Okay,
and the question, of course, did come up. Tim, you running for governor, and I'm like, I just got sworn in as Auditor General,
right?
And
so wait. So even when we started talking, when it came out that you were running for any office in this, during the same time that Trump was at the top of a ticket as a black man, what was that like? And we talked about this, the piece was, you hoped that they would talk about your record. You hope that they would talk about the accountability, transparency, and things you pushed because they're your core values and beliefs, right, as opposed to party affiliation. And there's some that won't get that.
Right.
That break because of their track record. However, speak to your track record and how you were able to navigate that.
And then that's what my election was about. I made it about me.
Right.
I mean, I was the the person who was running. I mean, throughout my entire campaign, I don't recall receiving a missed call from Joe Biden or Donald Trump.
Right.
You don't care less about me. So but one of the things,
a good way to put it.
Yeah, so one of the things that I needed to do, I needed to make this election about me and my experiences as Auditor General.
Gotcha.
And that's pretty much what I did, and I focused on that, and I had the same message across the state, whether we're in Pittsburgh, Erie, Scranton, or Philadelphia, or here in Harrisburg, and I kept my message consistent, and I talked about my experiences, and the people across the state heard that,
right.
And because of that, I did. Not only did I win the election, I did a lot better than what anybody anticipated and expected.
Right. So, except for yourself, of course,
exactly.
The team that was supporting you.
Right.
So, from our perspective, those of us that are out here in terms of voters, it was a challenge to. But this speaks again to the level of voter education that candidates must do, the level of engagement that candidates in the communities must see as mutually beneficial, because there's some Democrats that we should and or should not support. There's some Republicans that we should and or should not support, and especially those communities, Black communities, I'm going to speak to directly. We can't get caught up in a way where we are caught up in titles as opposed to quality, qualifications, track records. Either way, as I explained it, Republican and Democrats, like the old WWF wrestling. They both on the same team. They both gonna get a check, but they got you to believe when the cameras is on and on stage that they're bitter enemies. The piece I always share is, being from Newark, New Jersey, and going back as a young man, a kid visiting with my father, I saw Hacksaw Jim Duggan and the Iron Sheik on trial downtown in Newark, New Jersey. So I'm thinking as a kid that they're down there fighting,
right?
Only to find out that they were in a limousine with some allegedly having some substance together, and they were on trial for that, and they were supposed to be bitter enemies. And so it taught me that we, the onlookers, if we're not actively engaged in understanding what's going on, we can be tricked and fooled.
Right, exactly, and it all goes back to something that we had talked about earlier, and that is education. It's especially in Pennsylvania, this is the first 2020 was the first year where you couldn't vote straight party, and so there in many cases the voters had to actually educate themselves on with regards to who they're voting for. And I never forget, I was in the parking lot of a Lowe's picking up a Christmas tree, and somebody from my community pulled up beside me and said, what Tim said, because of your election and because of the you no longer can vote straight party, it actually, for the first time in my entire life, and this is somebody who was, it wasn't a young kid. Okay. Said that for the first time, I actually educated myself on the people who I was voting for.
Right.
And they said that for the first time in my life, I actually voted for a Republican. I voted for you because I know who you are.
Right.
And so one of the things that I urge your listeners and I urge the voters across the state to do is just to educate yourself on exactly who you're voting for.
Right.
And the true indicator of what someone's going to do in the future is what they've done in the past.
Right.
Whether or not, how they voted, what they've done while they're in office, and also, what they've done with regards to serving their community as well.
So let's ask this. It would have been almost expected and or acceptable, as a Black male candidate, Black female candidate, whoever, to change parties when you have a Donald Trump at the top of a ticket who did not speak, does not have a lot of complimentary remarks in 4 years with regards to engaging Black and brown communities. So what was it that allowed you to feel comfortable enough with maintaining that Republican status, still running for a statewide office? Was it the fact that you knew Pennsylvania is heavily Republican with regards to voting, or was it the fact that, hey, I know who I am and what I do?
That's all it was.
Yeah.
I knew who I was. I've matured over the years,
Mm-hmm.
but as far as my values and my beliefs, they haven't changed.
Right.
I mean, some other individuals may have changed, but I haven't. And and after I won, I recall getting some Facebook messages and some other messages from individuals saying, okay, so Tim, you won. We're going to do the right thing by switching your political party. Well, I've always done the right thing.
There you go.
I've done the right thing, whether it's with regards to what I've done in office or whether with regards to my community. Karl, I haven't changed.
Right.
I've always been the person who I am, and people did not know, as much as I've done in the community, people did not know that I was a Republican until I ran for Dauphin County Controller.
Right.
And and some of the comments necessarily weren't very positive towards me. And in Susquehanna Township, where I've been involved with the community for forever, my brother's very involved with the community, I got crushed.
Right.
I got crushed, and that, you talk about hurt feeling, but then again, I thought about, okay, maybe I need to do a better job of getting people to understand who I am.
Right.
Maybe they don't know me, and it all goes back to who you are, and it all goes back to communicating,
Mm-hmm.
What you're about and what you're trying to do. So as far as Susquehanna Township, I won Dauphin County, but as far as the Susquehanna Township where I grew up, I in the city of Harrisburg and some other areas, I have some work to do with regards to how with regards to getting people to know me and understand me.
Is that getting them to know you when you run for governor? Or is that, what is he saying? What are you saying here? Wait.
Just getting to know you. Getting to know me.
As the Auditor General.
As correct. As your newly sworn Auditor General.
Hey, I'm not pushing anything. I'm just asking the questions that the people have,
right.
From my perspective. So what have you heard on this? Let's talk about that a little more, because they didn't hear you with your chest out in the last segment. Yeah, so let's talk about it.
Exactly. And I'm trying to think who that was that wanted me. That was Lisa Saunders. So my chest is out now, Lisa.
Bring that question back.
My what I plan on doing is I plan on doing the job as the Auditor General.
That's right. Okay.
That's what I plan on doing. Only God knows what intentions He has for me down the road.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, my job is to do the job as the Auditor General.
Okay.
And if there's anything different, Karl, I would announce it on the show.
Oh, you heard it here first. If there's anything different, he will announce it here. On a seat at the table here at Music Man Multimedia Studios. We got you locked in on that. The man who's predicated upon service with what else but character, integrity, accountability, and transparency. So again, welcoming your questions. 717-903-8760 is the call-in line. And of course, we are looking in the comments section. We'll take another quick break. On the other side of this, we'll get some more information on the first, hopefully never again to be said, the only State Auditor General, Mr. Tim Defoor, Black Auditor General, Mr. Tim Defoor, as we move forward with the show. Thank you.
When you hear this, my friend, please don't panic. Demons you let in run rampant after your mind. Will you stand up and challenge the evil around you? It's so natural. Listen, my friend, please don't panic. Demons you let in run rampant after your mind. Where you stand up and challenge the evil around you is so natural.
Again, we thank you for remaining here with us throughout the struggles of tonight, the audio difficulties. We cannot thank you enough for sticking with us, ensuring that we are continuing to climb that ladder of success with regards to this podcast. Again, definitely want to thank and show appreciation for the show's real control. Conrad Lewis, Craig Lewis, and Chad Scott, who are definitely putting it down here to ensure that we have an outlet where we can come that is definitely geared towards the underserved, underrepresented, and oftentimes undereducated with regards to what we need to, the space we need to fill that others leave us out of. So as we continue to plow through our challenges, we thank you again for remaining committed, remaining with us, remaining on the cutting edge of ensuring that our communities are definitely still plugged in, no pun intended. And that is definitely a shout out to Music Man Multimedia Studios, Craig Lewis, Conrad Lewis, and Chad Scott. So, State Auditor General Defoor, again, we thank you for joining us. I'd like to give you some time to close out. If there's something that you would like the listening audience to know, this is the time where you can address that. Maybe the next 3, 6, 9 months, what you hope to accomplish, your grows and glows. And then I'll close out on the other side of a brief commercial. Stay tuned. We have some special announcements that we want to bring up after Mr. Defoor closes out his comments and we take a short break. I'll be on the other side of that announcing some things for this upcoming Saturday. So stay tuned. State Auditor General Defoor, please.
So first of all, Karl, thank you for having me on the show. I've known you for several years, and you've never steered me wrong. You've always, as Joe Massimo put it, you've always put it where the ghost can get it. So I appreciate you having me on the show, and I appreciate the listeners for listening in. The one thing I like to leave to your viewers and your listeners with is that stay engaged. Stay engaged with what people are so engaged with what's happening on the national level. You got to stay engaged with what's happening right outside your front door.
That's right.
Because it's local government that affects you. The moment you open your front door, and like tonight, it's supposed to ice, and it's the local government that determines whether or not your streets are going to be salted or going to be plowed. So stay engaged not only with what's happening on the national level, but stay engaged with what's happening on your local level, because that's extremely important. A lot of times we kind of forget to vote in our elections that deal with things locally.
Mhm.
We only come out when something big is happening on the national level. No, it's every single election is important as the previous or another election. So you have to stay engaged with what's happening in your community. And also, there's a friend of mine who passed away a couple of years ago. His name is Harry Jones. And Harry Jones, and I think Karl knows who Harry is. Harry served on the board of the National Civil War Museum. And if you wanted to know about African American history, I can't think of a person that I've ever met that knows more than Harry Jones. And one of the things that Harry Jones always told me is that when you're regardless of whether you're looking at history or whether you're talking about current events, he always said, Tim, go to the primary source. Don't necessarily listen to all this other stuff you're seeing on social media and what other people are spinning about what other people said. If you want to know something, if you want to educate yourself about something, go to the primary source. So what I'm saying to your listeners, Karl, they want to really know something about what's going on and the truth about something, you go to that primary source. You don't go to a third party. But most importantly, you have to stay engaged. And with social media, it's made it easier to stay engaged. But there's some things about social media that necessarily may not be truthful. But stay engaged, understand what's going on.
Right.
And I think if we all stay engaged and we all have a clear understanding of what's going on, I think this regardless of what's happening today, and I think that we will be headed to a much better place.
Yeah, and I'll end with clearly understanding that our reoccurring theme throughout this month and in perpetuity, at this point, is living in two Americas.
Yeah.
Clearly understanding that with regards to what went on in the insurrection, with regards to January 6th. And so that living in two Americas could take on a whole nother show.
Yeah,
with you. So again, just like to close out with that, we'll welcome you back. The door is always open. The table is always set for you to sit down and join us. I can't thank you enough. And just to let you know, I appreciate you.
Thank you, Karl.
I'm proud of you, and we trust you.
What?